these people are sort of, they're traveling across the country. Are they working for different crime groups?
They're in
the gig economy.
Exactly. We both have experience as freelancers. They work for themselves. And that's the beauty of this.
That is the beauty.
Okay?
They can work anywhere.
They'll go to Toledo, hold up a bank, kill a cop. Great.
So we're starting this week's episode with your favorite holiday.
That's right, Flag Day. We're going to be talking about Flag Day. This very important. This week that we're releasing this episode, of course, should be Saint. Excuse me. He was sainted.
Excuse you.
Saint Valentine's
Give him
Day.
put some respect on his name.
Put some respect on that saint's name. Okay? All right. Now, I bought roses once.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
When was that?
Not important. In fact, I shouldn't have brought it up at all. But I did do it once.
Okay.
And I'm told after the fact that was all a scam. Like, this is a scam to get me to buy roses for some lady.
The lady told you that?
No, I figured this out after we broke up. But
you know what I got you for Valentine's Day? Praxis.
You know what I got you for St. Valentine's Day? A podcast.
Oh, even better.
Yeah. And it's just that simple, folks, to segue into today's episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're continuing our series, Al Capone All-American, with the sweetest St. Valentine's Day gift one can give. And that is one of the most famous gun crimes in American history.
This is why you're single, okay?
I think there are other reasons besides that, but I'm willing to chalk it up to, well, look how many books I have on this. I mean, if you can see on the video, okay?
How many? 3?
That's just the ones I brought.
Wow.
Not to brag.
You're packing heat today.
Well, speaking of packing heat, so imagine, if you will, I feel like this is one of the events. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, to me, is kind of the hinge point in the life of Al Capone. We've been talking about the last time we spoke, Al Capone had triumphantly returned to Chicago, had installed his personal pet mayor, Big Bill Thompson, and the city is now his to take over again. He's returned from exile in Cicero, and there's just a fly in the ointment, which is this North Side gang that we talked about previously, which won't go away. So being the romantic that he is, right, a massive crime, which everyone's heard of. Everyone around the world has heard of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
I don't know about that.
Again, this may be confirmation bias of me only talking to other weirdos. Just saying. It's very well known.
Okay, so this is a massacre that happened on
St. Valentine's Day, 1929.
Okay.
Imagine, if you will, some regular folks on Clark Street, morning of St. Valentine's Day, heart of North Side Chicago, hear a strange noise from the garage next door. A tenant is enlisted to go downstairs and check. He opens the door to SMC Cartage and finds a man shot about 20 times, barely alive in front of him, begging for help, and says, "Who are you?"
The ultimate Valentine's Day present.
This is it. And further in the garage, 6 men dead, each shot about 20 times. This is the hinge point, like I said, on Al Capone's life, though he doesn't know it yet.
And I think it's worth noting, at the time, 6 dead men.
Soon to be 7.
Was a lot. Obviously, that's still a lot. I'm not implying it's...
No, they're rookie numbers now. Okay?
Yes, what's a nice way of saying...
It's like how old NBA stats, they sort of meant more, you know?
Yeah.
It was a different game back then, A 3-point shooting wasn't as big a deal.
It's so horrific you have to laugh, because otherwise I don't.
But that's it, right? So in today's episode, I mean, we're going to be talking about one of the most famous gun crimes ever, one of the most famous mass murders ever, and a lot of the same issues about greed, about incompetence, about guns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which are still a big issue today, even more so now. The sale of guns, how that works, and really the beginnings of federal law enforcement emerging out of this. And most of all, how one serious gun crime can totally change things, right? And there's a great German journalist, Petra Roski, who she wrote about a similar massacre in Germany in 2007, which revealed to the world this secret mafia called the Ndrangheta. And it was called the Duisburg Massacre. A bunch of guys got killed, and it shone a light on this mafia that no one knew about. And she had a great way of describing it, which is, she said, this is the industrial accident of the underworld.
That term is so perfect to describe mass shootings.
This is
some
it,
way.
right? Like, that's it. Like, if you have, as the late Charlie Kirk said, if you have guns be legal, mass shootings are going to be the consequence of that.
Mm.
His death is a consequence of that, right? And in the same way, if you have these mobsters who can only settle things through murder, through violence, 7 dead men might be the cost at some point, the same way a mine collapse might be in coal mining or something like that.
Right. And I think, not to be glib about mass shootings earlier, but I think if you ask the average American now, how many people need to be killed for it to qualify as a mass shooting? That's a question for you, because I would assume through a 2026 lens, it would need to be more than 6 or 7 people.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I mean, obviously children being murdered isn't enough, right? But I'll say this. What's interesting also is a through line. No one is ever charged or tried for this crime, right?
Wow.
Despite it being so prominent. So the bonus of today's episode is, oh, by the way, we're going to solve the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Oh, hell yeah.
So can I deliver on this promise? You'll have to keep listening.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. To start, I think we have to talk about something that a topic we've never really discussed on the show before. And that is the hitman, just the concept.
This is a good episode, Dan. Because how have we gone this long without talking about that concept? It's so key to the mob and also just so interesting to the average person, I think.
I am not exaggerating when I say, when we first conceived of doing this podcast 18 and a half years ago.
Really?
And it took that long.
I was 2 years old.
Wink.
I'm 20.
Yeah. She's going to be able to drink soon. Listen, can we get serious? Okay. The hitman is a topic I've wanted to explore at length because there is some sort of dark fascination, celebrity fixation on it, right? And the thing is, it is an important job in a mafia. Just like you need the money man, you need the bribery, you need the fence, you need the bootlegger, the gambling boss, all these things. The hitman has to keep it all humming, because when you're dealing with an economy that's beyond the realm of laws, right? Where, okay, we have a contract, you violate it, I sue you or whatever, right? Well, the other version of that is you get beaten up or shot in the head or something like that happens. Something bad happens. And you need a guy to enforce that or you're going to get wiped off the map.
I also think, we talk a lot about what makes crime organized. Mm-hmm. And a job like the hitman is a perfect example because the boss can't be doing all this stuff.
That's right.
Part of what makes this sophisticated is there's a different person to do everything and there's always a cover. And the hitman is really key.
It is. And so we're going to be talking first about one of Al Capone's favorite hitmen, and really in some ways the first celebrity hitman, and that is Machine Gun Jack McGurn. Now, this is...
What a name.
Now, and I'm glad you glommed onto that, right? Because here's Jack, real name Vincenzo Garibaldi.
I was going to say, is he... what type of name is that?
Fascinating answer to that, which is, and this is not an uncommon thing among Italian gangsters who boxed semi-professionally. McGurn, aka Vincenzo Garibaldi, was a boxer. They found that they could sell more tickets, get more popularity if they posed as Irish rather than Italian, due to prejudice and due to Irish fans and all that. So he became Machine Gun Jack McGurn, obviously Machine Gun, coming from the job he pursued after boxing, which is hitman for Capone. Now, it's a little, here's where we get into difficulty with this episode. There's so much that's still unclear because this crime was never solved, right? So McGurn bounces back and forth between the Capone mob and the North Side mob during different eras of peace. And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. He's working for both sides?
It seems like he was, right? And that he was just sort of a freelance guy.
I'm a freelance killer.
But we're going to talk a lot
I got
about
my
freelancers today.
1099 for shooting people in the head.
I don't get a W-2. I got to do, let me tell you, tax season, I got to get a 1099 from every gang. Then I haven't paid in anything yet.
No.
I got to submit them all to my tax. It's a bad situation, right? So he's doing that, and he comes to, however, be Al Capone's one of his most reliable hitmen and enforcers. And I think of McGurn the way I think of, like, if you're a hockey fan, right? Fighting is legal.
I'm actually a hockey fan because of Heated Rivalry now.
This is catching on. I love hockey, even without the gay sex. But, but all the merrier,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's catching on.
I've been, because it's all I talk about now. I've been wondering if it was going to come up on the pod because it's my whole personality.
Put that on your bingo. I bet you didn't have that on your bingo card. So in hockey, fighting is allowed. And so that means the good players have to watch out.
It is
They're going to
allowed.
get beaten up, right? So you have an enforcer who's there to protect the good players. You have this in other sports too.
That's really hot, Dan.
Ladies, you do with this information what you wish. And guys,
The
whoever,
enforcer.
whatever. And McGurn is kind of that. He keeps beating back these hitmen who are coming to town to claim bounties on Al Capone and sending them back in a pine box, right? He is reputed to kill all the guys who killed his stepfather, who was an alky cooker for bootleggers. And he does it with style. Here on the left, we have his wife, Louise Rolfe, a.k.a. the Blonde Alibi. She's a showgirl, former showgirl.
They're honestly a pretty cute couple. You know, she looks like a classic flapper.
That's right.
He's got a nice three-piece suit.
Mm-hmm. He's a fashion plate.
Mm-hmm.
On the right here, we see McGurn, an amateur golfer as well, and good enough that he wanted to go pro.
He's an athlete.
Yeah.
Honestly.
He is. And another way he's athletic is, in addition to protecting Capone's interests and all this, he protects VIPs. So, for instance, when Bing Crosby, biggest singer in America, is having some trouble of an indeterminate sort, McGurn becomes his golf partner. Now,
golf partner.
Yes, in quotation marks.
So, I mean, without going on too much of a tangent, I am curious. Obviously, you need to be a good shot to become a hitman, but how does one know other than that they're good at it? I'm sure it takes a lot of qualities. Good under pressure. What makes a great hitman, and why was he so good at it?
I think a good hitman is good not just because he's good at killing.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. Eddie Cantor, the other singer in the middle here, another one of the most famous singers in the country, is protected by McGurn against extortionists, which is a common thing for singers at this time.
Really?
Yeah. Where they get a threatening letter saying, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me this much money. And according to one story, McGurn kicks them out, beats them up and tells them to get lost. And tells them Eddie Cantor's under our protection, right? The flip side is, if you don't listen, they will do you serious harm. And that is what happened to Joey Lewis. Joey Lewis, nightclub singer, comic at the Green Mill, a bar in Chicago, jazz club, which is still in operation today. It's a little bit unclear what exactly happened, but Joey Lewis said in his memoir later, or the book about his life, The Joker is Wild, he says McGurn warned him not to go to another nightclub, take a better contract. And when he didn't listen to him, McGurn's hitmen came to his hotel room, held him down, carved up his face, and cut his throat. He barely survived, but it severed his vocal cords, ended his singing career, right? So that is the other side of the hitman, right? And this leads us into, as you said, it's a specialized line of work, like any other sort of job title in an organization, right? And you got guys doing different things. You have James Belcastro. He's the bomber. You need a bomb built for a saloon or a car or something like that, you go see him and do that. Anselmi and Scalise, right? They're a double act, a hit team. They're mainly for taking out the Jenna family, who they used to work for, right? And then on top of that, Al Capone, being the sneaky Pete that he is, he has other hitmen unknown to Chicago, unknown to his organization, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. But as I said, this is all to enforce your rights in a landscape where there's no laws. And what Al Capone is dealing with at this time, is upon returning to Chicago, is he cannot get this North Side mob that's been annoying him to just go along with the plan, right? Peace in exchange for everyone sharing a cut of things. And you know what? Maybe it was a dream that just couldn't be achieved, right? Because you're dealing with all these fucking gangsters, you know? They don't want to fall in line.
Peace.
They don't want peace, right? So there's these off and on truces punctuated by things like Capone's hotel, the Hawthorne, being machine gunned by like anywhere from 300 to 1,000 rounds.
So at this time, who's more powerful in Chicago? Or is it sort of neck and neck?
Here's the interesting thing. I think Capone, but in the newspaper coverage of that time, he is more second rate. There's more attention being paid to the gang still in Chicago at that time. Capone returns 1927 after the election and is still somewhat low key. Part of that's because he's spending a lot of time.
Is that good though? That's good, right?
I think it's good. Yeah. And he's spending more time outside of Chicago too, which we're going to talk about a little bit, right? But he makes his presence felt again with a return to form in the murder of the new boss of the North Side gang, Jaime Weiss. Jaime Weiss is a vicious killer, reputed to be the only guy Al Capone was ever afraid of. And
so this is interesting.
Yeah.
Jewish?
No. I'm going to answer that like an Australian.
Okay, because I thought it was the two sides of my identity battling it out.
Jaime Weiss is stealing Jewish valor. Let's be clear on that. He's Polish fucking Catholic. Okay?
Okay.
A common misconception, though, right? And he paid for it with his life. No, not really. That's not why he was killed. But I want to point out on the Jaime Weiss hit, the use of a machine gun nest in a second floor apartment that they rented out, waited until Weiss and his entourage were coming out of a cathedral. Weiss was organizing a gang war against Capone. They spray the street with gunfire, kill him, kill another gangster, get away clean, toss a Tommy gun on the top of a dog house, and make a clean break.
And what year was this?
This was October 11th, 1926. Again, discipline, skill, planning. It took all of that to do this. There's a second machine gun nest later discovered, which wasn't even used because they got him. But it speaks to how well prepared these Capone hitmen are. And this was probably Machine Gun Jack McGurn's doing, right?
Yeah.
The subsequent leader of the North Side mob, Vincent Drucci, killed by a cop in the back of a police car. Don't ask.
We cannot get
Don't
into
even
that.
ask. But he says he was going for his gun. I don't think so.
Tale as old as time.
Right. Some things never change. So Capone is doing pretty well at wiping out these guys. Every leader of the North Side mob has been assassinated by his gang. And now we're up against the new leader, George Bugs Moran. This fellow in the center here. Do you want to describe what he looks like?
Well, this is difficult because a lot of these guys look the same.
It's a relevant point, as we're going to find out.
Yeah, we've got, the combed back hair, the cleft chin, the little plump, the suit.
You're looking at the photo, right?
Yeah, this guy?
I thought you were at me.
Oh.
No. Yeah.
It's a lot of guys, okay?
Here's the thing about Bugs Moran that I love. He is basically Al Capone. He's just another type of Al Capone. Right?
Yeah, they all really look the same in this time. And I know there's always been like looks, but especially in this era.
That's right. And they're very similar guys in an interesting way, right? Moran, his real name is Adelard Kunin, which I know. You're like, what? Excuse me? What kind of name is that? It is French. His father was French, his mother from Quebec. He's born in St. Paul. A big theme of this episode is everyone's changing their name all the time.
Yeah.
Okay? Al Capone even is mostly known by Al Brown until relatively late in his career.
Wow.
His alias, right? So Bugs Moran's the new leader, former robber, safecracker, all that. Here he is in court in a leather jacket, and he has to lead the crusade against Capone's mob. He teams up with this guy, Joe Aiello, a Italian gangster, as the name indicates, battling for control of the Unione Siciliana, which we've talked about before, this Italian fraternal organization which Capone uses to wield power in the immigrant community, right? This North Side mob has killed 2 of his leaders now of that group, and Aiello is battling for control of it. The guys who did those murders, these guys, the North Side mob's main hitmen, the Gusenberg brothers.
Oh, what a name.
Yeah, German, to be clear. And James Clark, alias of Albert Kachelik, another German immigrant. Up here, we have some other members of the mob, ancillary. We have Al Weinshank, who's their main labor racketeer. We have Adam Heyer, who's their money man in the middle. And then this poor guy in the upper right-hand corner is James May, a mechanic who's paid $50 a week to repair all the trucks that they use for bootlegging.
I can't stress enough how all of these guys are essentially the same guy in a slightly different font.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because I have here specifically a closer photo of Al Weinshank, the labor racketeer, and I just want you to remark upon his resemblance to Bugs Moran.
Yeah, I thought that was Bugs Moran. I mean, I thought that was the same guy. If you didn't tell me, I would have thought.
So remember that for later. Al Weinshank, Bugs Moran. Alana thought they were the same guy. That will be fateful. Okay. So this Moran mob, Moran is a stubborn man. He doesn't want to go along with this deal, right? He doesn't trust Capone. And to a degree, he has good reason for that, right?
Right.
Now, Capone, I always feel a little bad for him in a weird way.
You're a little soft on him.
Maybe a little, but I feel like with other gangs, he tends to be diplomatic where he lets them live if they pay tribute to him.
Mm-hmm.
He is actually more generous than some of the guys who are going to come after him in this sense, right? So he'll give a fig leaf to you to operate if you just kick up to him.
Mm-hmm.
This is mostly what he does rather than wipe them out.
Right.
You know, if they resist, he will have to.
Well, honestly, is that part of why the North Side Gang proliferated? I mean, they've kind of gone back and forth. They're kind of at odds, but then they have peaceful eras, and then they go back. You know,
Alana, you might have been a better mob boss than Al Capone if you just wiped him out from the beginning.
It is in my blood,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And what even Capone realizes at this point, though, is considering they've murdered Patsy LaLordo and Tony Lombardo, his Unione Siciliane leaders, they're gunning for him. They're trying to get him.
Yeah, he killed the previous guy. If they don't go for him, he's going for them.
That's it. And so, although the details are lost to history exactly, it seems like Capone becomes convinced we've got to get rid of Moran. We've got to break up this gang for good. And he enlists Machine Gun Jack McGurn to work out the details. I'm going to Florida. Okay?
Classic.
And this is going to start us on the path to the massacre, which will end Al Capone's career.
Shouldn't have gone to Florida.
Never go to Florida.
Never go. Honestly, that's the lesson.
Don't go to Florida.
Okay.
So, what was it Gwyneth Paltrow said? The conscious uncoupling?
Wow. Didn't think we'd ever bring up Gwenny.
She obviously was the main mastermind of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
If anyone could do it, I believe she could do it.
Was it conscious uncoupling or unconscious coupling?
Conscious uncoupling.
Okay. Unconscious coupling, I guess, would be something
would be
very
probably
weird.
Killing someone because they won't go away.
Oh, speaking of, so maybe we should say that because we're going to have that between Al Capone and an old friend. While all this is going on, right? Think of all the pressure poor Al is under. On top of that, he is having a friendship die, one of his oldest friendships.
Uh-oh.
And if you've ever gone through this can be very painful, you know? And it's happening with one of the most dangerous men in America is the other thing.
Yeah, in this case,
it is with Frankie
it's
Yale.
not just your friend from high school who works at Yard House.
He sort of is that too, actually.
Yes.
So Frankie Yale, we've talked about before.
Yeah, let's remind us though.
Brooklyn mob boss, right? Former mentor to Al Capone. Capone worked for him at his Harvard Inn in Coney Island. Instrumental in getting Capone sent to Chicago. Instrumental in helping Capone and his former boss, John Torrio, achieve power. Assassinating Jim Colosimo.
There's no Capone without Frankie Yale.
No. Frankie Yale comes back to Chicago to kill Dean O'Banion.
Right.
The first leader of the North Side mob that Capone goes up against. And in New York, he's kind of watching Capone in Chicago, and I think getting a little jealous.
Mm-hmm.
New York is a more crowded field for Italian gangsters, right? And Frankie Yale is starting to be eclipsed.
Wow. Okay.
Lucky Luciano coming up,
I think this is why also people love mob stories so much, because obviously these are extremes, but you can always find a little bit in these dynamics to relate to, right?
Absolutely. And again, not to be too soft on Capone, put yourself in Capone's shoes where he has this uncomfortable feeling that Frankie Yale, this guy who was like a big brother to him, is starting to hate him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Most among us.
he's trying to repair the relationship. He invites him to Chicago for the Tunney boxing match. Like, he's trying to repair the relationship. But a couple things are happening that Yale is doing to convey his unhappiness.
Ooh.
The first is there is a well-known route of bootleg alcohol from New York to Chicago. Yale has been providing it for years. It's from Rum Row off the Atlantic coast, and it's being shipped by truck to Chicago. Some of that is going missing.
Uh-oh.
Into Frankie Yale's warehouses and whatnot.
I mean, in Frankie Yale's defense, though, I feel like, is it only one time that he came to Chicago to kill someone for Al Capone? I mean, he has done
Twice.
a lot. Twice, right. That's what I'm saying. If I'm Frankie Yale, I'm like, bro.
You know what? This is... as any relations therapist will say, right? The problem is when nobody's totally wrong.
Yep.
You know?
That's real.
And talking helps. If only these guys had talked, you know? He tried, though. So, one, his booze is being bootlegged. Capone sends a spy over to Brooklyn. The spy reports back and confirms, yes, Frankie Yale is stealing booze. The spy is then found murdered. Okay, that's not good. Another issue.
That's not good.
Not good. Frankie Yale is a big power in the national organization of the Unione Siciliana, this Italian fraternal organization which Capone uses to wield power. Right?
Okay, they're all in it.
They're all in it.
Okay.
And Yale wants to control it in Chicago too. Right?
Well, that's not going to work.
No. He wants Joe Aiello, Capone's sworn enemy, to be involved there. So this is really shaping up in a dangerous...
The girls are fighting.
The girls are so fighting.
I love this because this is like so just gossipy and drama for these bros.
It is so catty and like, you know, it's like Trump getting mad at like Bette Midler or something like that.
No, it's like Trump and Elon.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's what it reminds me of.
But listen, let's talk about some guys with 3-digit IQs. Specifically, how Capone deals with Yale.
Okay.
And that is July 1st, 1928. Yale, not an easy guy to draw a bead on, has had many assassination attempts on him, but he's going to get a call that his wife is sick and hurt, and it throws him totally off. He gets in a car.
Is that real or is that a fake?
It is a ploy. Gets in his car, speeds off, and is tracked by a gang of murderers who wait until he is on a street that's not crowded and is machine gunned to death, crashes.
I've seen
dead.
a theme, a machine gun.
Yes, right? So this is the first use of a Tommy gun in New York gangland, right?
Because they're mainly in Chicago.
That's right. And it's a growing issue now, right? The Tommy gun. The Chicago typewriter, as it's called.
Well, they're going to know, obviously, though, who did it.
That's right. Which maybe was part of the point.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Don't want it to be a secret.
Now we're cooking with gas.
That's right. Now, Frankie Yale, as we see here, many diamond rings and stick pins and a belt buckle set with 75 diamonds recovered from his corpse. There he is dead on the street. His car crashed. And the guys who did this was sort of the job interview for a new gang of hitmen who Al Capone is going to dub his American Boys.
Oh.
And these guys are...
That's a good name.
These are some of my favorite guys. Now,
a lot of guys in this.
There's a lot of guys in this episode. American, in the sense that Capone is using it, means non-Italian.
Yeah.
That's what they meant.
Oh.
Right?
Well, but they're not from Italy, or are they just not Italian
They're not Italian at all.
Oh, what are they?
Well, you tell me. Take a look at this motley crew and tell me what you think. You said something interesting earlier seeing them.
I don't know. Just a mix of white guy.
nothing remarkable,
No.
right?
No.
And this is why Al Capone loves these guys. They are completely unremarkable looking. They're not Italian. They look like Joe Average from Middle America.
Exactly.
Which is what they are. They can look like a bank examiner. They can look like a police officer.
That's why, an American Boy. That's a great movie title.
I mean, these guys should have a movie title. They're also some of the scariest people we will ever discuss.
They also all have, when you look closely, the sociopath eyes, those black, sort of black hole eyes.
Yes. Shark eyes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing with these guys, right? Like they can, and their names change constantly. They're more known by aliases most of the time. They can fake being human.
How does he find them? Like, are they all working together as a unit already, or he puts them together?
Here's how it happens. So the first thing that these guys all share is they're all from St. Louis, or most of them. St. Louis, previously the number 2 city, the capital of the Midwest, no longer after Chicago rises. They leave St. Louis after the destruction of the gang they were all in called Egan's Rats, sort of an old school Irish gang, and drift across the Midwest, just causing havoc wherever they go, right? They're bank robbers, they're killers, they are con men. And the other thing that they revolutionize is what's called the snatch racket, meaning, no, don't say that, kidnapping for ransom.
Wow.
They're into that.
They're into a lot of things.
They are into a lot of things. And the sort of leader of it all is this guy, Fred Burke, better known as Killer Burke, who his mustache, very natty mustache, conceals a hair lip that is an identifying mark. He's a bearish man, he's described as, a fun-loving sort, and a total psychopath. Many murders on his rap sheet. To his left, the smartest guy in the gang, Gus Winkler, who has a glass eye from a car accident. Up in the left-hand corner, Crane Neck Nugent, of course.
Crane Neck Nugent.
Otherwise known as Gander. Apparently he had a long neck. I don't see it in the mugshot.
I think it's because, so he has a really narrow head, so his neck it looks like one long neck.
Apparently, I mean, both his nicknames refer to him having a long-ass neck.
Yeah, I see it.
And then in the middle up here, we have the rich kid, Fred Getz, a.k.a. Shotgun George Ziegler, college educated, just happens to be a child molester. So after that derails his life, he becomes a killer for hire and gangster.
All right. Okay.
That's fun, right? On the right, Bob Carey, con man, counterfeiter, killer. And then in the middle here, this guy, Byron Bolton, Fred Burke's driver, who's going to be important later.
So let's just go back to this idea of the freelance hitman.
Yes.
These people are sort of, they're traveling across the country. Are they working for different crime groups?
They're in the
gig economy.
Exactly. We both have experience as freelancers. They work for themselves. And that's the beauty of this.
That is the beauty.
Okay.
They can work anywhere.
They'll go to Toledo, hold up a bank, kill a cop. Great. Go back home. Go to Michigan, do the same thing. Go to Missouri, go to Minnesota. They're drifting all across the Midwest doing this. And what happens is, after Fred Burke happens to kill 3 gangsters in Detroit, something called the Mila Flores Massacre, using a Tommy gun, Capone encounters them for the first time. They had kidnapped a Detroit gambler, brought him to Chicago. Capone orders him let go. Summons Winkler and 2 of the others to a meeting. Winkler thinks, we might get killed here. This might not be a good idea. And instead, Winkler and Capone charm each other.
Oh, okay.
A bromance is forming. What?
This is such a great episode. Because it's got bromances. It's got the girls are fighting.
It's everything we want,
it's
in
everything,
the story.
Especially in a
We're
Valentine's.
fucking going long on this. We're not doing an hour.
Yeah.
We're going long. Okay.
This is a love story.
I can't do this in an hour. Okay. Because Gus Winkler's fallen in love. He goes home and he tells his wife, man, I had the best time with Al Capone tonight. My 2 friends got super drunk and that was embarrassing. But otherwise.
But a connection was made.
A connection was made. And here's the connection. He now has a death squad, which is loyal only to him, which can blend in anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, and this is possibly the most important part, is all guys completely unknown to the Chicago underworld.
Question though, what about Machine Gun Jack?
Perfect
I'm
example.
sure is he threatened by this?
I wouldn't say threatened. In fact, he's probably relieved because Machine Gun Jack is too well known.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really obvious he's doing all these.
Right?
You know?
The Gusenbergs almost kill him in a hotel in an attack. So he has a target on his back, right? He can't face these guys. They'll recognize him. No one's going to recognize these guys. No one knows who these guys are, right? The other thing about them I find interesting, beyond the fact that they're not Italian, that they're unknown, that they're loyal to Capone, we talk sometimes about, like, you ever hear the phrase imperial blowback? We have this with, for instance, today, Iraq war vets coming back, joining ICE, you know?
Right.
Military weaponry being deployed for police departments, this sort of thing. These guys are all World War I veterans. Now, we talk about the crazy Vietnam veteran, the crazy, you know, like this was a thing. This was a known thing.
This has always been a thing.
This has always been a thing of the guy coming back not okay. Gus Winkler's wife will later describe he was an ambulance driver in World War I, and it just deadened him to the world. You know, imagine what he was hauling every day.
So they all have PTSD.
Probably. And, it, you know, if that wasn't bad enough, they're all, you know, just psychopaths now, right?
Yeah.
So here's how it starts to shape up. According to Byron Bolton later, Byron Bolton is going to be the lookout. And the plan is hatched in the fall of 1928 at a resort in Cranberry Lake, Wisconsin. Maybe you...
Cranberry Lake?
Don't know that lake? I was going to say, Sam, our producer, knows Wisconsin well. So up at Cranberry Lake, they go to a resort. And they all sit down together.
Sorry, resort. Yeah. On Cranberry Lake.
The Wisconsin Dells. Come on.
Okay.
They go up there. They hatch how they're going to kill Bugs Moran, how the plan is going to operate, what's going to happen, right? And it's going to be these guys are going to pose as police, raid the garage when a meeting is called for the North Side Gang that Bugs Moran's going to be at. They're going to kill Moran, make a getaway posing as triumphant cops, and that'll be the end of him, right? And importantly, Byron Bolton, who's rented an apartment across the street posing as a cab driver, is going to give the signal when Moran enters the garage. All right. The cars are going to be stolen beforehand. They're going to be run out of a place called the Circus Cafe nearby, run by another former St. Louis gangster named Claude Maddox. It's all very well planned, very well timed, and Al Capone is not going to be around for it to happen, right?
He's going to Florida?
That's right. He's going to have the perfect alibi. So, after weeks of waiting, right, and in this time, the North Side Mob continuing to plan and continuing to figure out how to kill Capone, guys like Bolton are looking out on the street. Here's what finally happens St. Valentine's Day, 1929. Okay. I said earlier, Al Weinshank and Bugs Moran, you mentioned how closely they looked to each other.
Yes,
right?
yes. And remind us who Weinshank is.
Weinshank is the main labor racketeer. Okay.
Right.
One of the lookouts sees Weinshank going into the garage.
And thinks,
oh, it's Bugs Moran.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bear in mind, this is not the headquarters of the gang, right? So they haven't seen Bugs Moran going into the garage in all the weeks they've been watching. So when they finally think that they see him going in, they're excited.
Yeah.
They call the nearby house where all the hitmen are waiting and tell them, okay, Moran's in the garage. The gangsters assemble. They have two cars, a Cadillac and a Peerless, both of which are chosen and bought specifically because they look like the one Chicago detectives use.
And these guys, when you said that they're going to pose as cops, I'm like, that's perfect. These look like cops.
That's right. Fred Killer Burke and Fred Getz are the two who probably dress up as the police officers. An eyewitness, a truck driver actually, gets rear-ended by one of the police cars on the way there, which he notices is weird because they don't stop. Okay? That's a little odd.
Yeah.
And the car goes to the back alley behind the garage, driven probably by Gus Winkler. There, a witness passing sees the three of them And here's one of them saying to the other, let's go in, Mac. They go into the back rear entrance, the garage entrance of the Moran Booze Depot, and announce themselves, police, hands up. Now, the 7 men I named earlier, the 6 men plus Reinhard Schwimmer, we cannot get into this.
There's a lot of names.
All you need to know about him, he's your standard what's the word for a guy who makes glasses?
Optometrist?
Optometrist who has given up that to hang out with gangsters. He's like a gang group.
That's honestly awesome.
It was so weird. His mother supports him. Super weird guy.
Okay.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, so he just happens to be there?
He just happens to be hanging out there. The 7 of them get lined up against the wall. The problem for them is they don't think this is serious. They think this is cops shaking them down.
Yeah, that's the least of their worries. So they actually believe they're cops.
Absolutely do. They're disarmed. They're lined up against the wall. And they think either we're going to be out of here after paying.
Now, just to clarify, the guy that they think is Bugs Moran is not Bugs Moran.
It's Al Weinstein.
It's Al Weinstein.
Bugs Moran.
Where's Bugs Moran?
Bugs Moran is not only not in the garage, he is walking up Clark Street towards the garage, and he sees a car out front that looks like a police car. There's a second car parked out front, probably driven by Bob Carey and Crane Neck Nugent. They are parked out front. They have the machine guns. Moran sees this and says, oh my God, we're being raided. Let's get the fuck out of here. He skedaddles.
Okay.
Moran gets well clear of it, right? For the 7 men inside the garage, however, they're posing a problem to the hitmen. The 2 guys dressed as cops, probably Burke and Getz, open the front door to let in Carey and Nugent. They are carrying the Tommy guns, right?
Got it.
The 2 cops are carrying shotguns. They're handed the Tommy guns and they're faced with an issue. We don't know what Moran looks like. No one really thought to show them a photo of Bugs Moran.
Well, wait, I thought that they did. Oh, the lookout guy knew what he looked like.
The lookout guy, and he got it wrong.
Right.
Still, the hitmen don't actually know who Bugs Moran is.
I'm sorry. That seems like a basic hitman skill.
This is what I mean when I talk about this is an industrial accident, right? This is all this being...
So they're not that good at being hitmen at the end of the day if you go in and you realize, oh yeah, I actually don't know who I'm killing.
It's too clever by half. That's the way I describe this, right? Capone got so clever with it, thinking, they won't know him and they're out of town.
I'm sorry, but Tommy Gunn McGurn, this wouldn't have happened. I feel like he's better than that.
He had to be at a bit of a remove here.
He did.
Know?
He wasn't involved, but I'm just saying, I don't think
it
he
wouldn't
would
have gone down.
this
It's
up.
like Mark Wahlberg in 9/11. It wouldn't have gone down that way.
No.
You know? Right? If I had been there. Yeah. So they let in the 2 guys, they bring in the Tommy guns, and they have to make a snap call, which is either we kill the guy we think is Bugs Moran and miss the real one, or we kill all 7 of them.
Just to, why not? Let's just be sure.
And that is what they do. You see here in the middle, one of the most famous photos. By the way, cops were very tolerant of
also, I'm really
letting journalists in.
You mentioned like the World War I and PTSD, because it's like, this is also sort of a, I used to be a soldier approach. It's like, we don't know who it is, but let's just kill them all.
Kill all 7. That's right.
It's not really, like usually the mobsters are like, we kind of need to go try to not kill people. We don't want too many people looking here, so we got to just kill as least amount of people as possible.
It's a bad call.
It's a bad call.
It's a bad call. They shoot them all lined up against the wall. Probably some are still alive when they hit the ground, so they finish them off with shotguns. One is left alive. One of the Gusenberg brothers is going to live for a few more hours, saying, interestingly, cops did it. That's the one clue he's going to provide.
So they really think they were cops?
Well,
even when the 2 came in with the machine guns, wasn't that a tell?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It might, and here's what the cops hearing that think. Oh my God, cops might have done this. It is not beyond the realm of possibility actual cops could have done this, right? So they're not taking that unseriously.
Okay.
Right? I would be remiss if I did not mention the sole survivor in the garage, Highball the dog.
German Shepherd.
German Shepherd chained up in the corner, barking his head off. It's interesting though. Highball saw who did it and never talked.
Wow. Real king shit.
Omerta, right? And so all this happens. The gangsters leave. An eyewitness sees a cop missing his front tooth driving one of the getaway cars. And they do something very interesting as they exit, which is the two plainclothes hitmen, Bob Carey and Crane Neck Nugent, put their hands up and walk out as if they're being arrested by the two cops to pose for the street that it's just a police raid, right?
Okay.
Right? Little bit of showmanship, a little bit of razzle dazzle for them, right? They get away. The cars are stashed. And that is that. End of story for the Northside Mob, right?
Wow.
Wrong. So we go back to the pit of hell, the place, the inferno, the place where no soul returns from unscathed, Florida.
Oh, that's where we're going.
That's where we're going. Not the place where 7 people were massacred. That's a much scarier place, Miami. Okay. Al Capone has spent a lot of time in recent years in his new home, his second home in Miami Beach. And the morning that this is all happening at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, with his cop hitmen posing as making arrests to get away cleanly, he is in Florida and he has the perfect alibi. He's meeting with the Dade County prosecutor and a prosecutor from Brooklyn investigating the Frankie Yale murder.
Oh, perfect.
So he is with them when the St. Valentine's Day Massacre happens. Just the sickest alibi ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it might have been a coincidence, which makes it even funnier, you know.
I honestly forgot about Frankie Yale. There's so many deaths in this episode.
We got a lot of deaths. We got a lot of blood and guts.
We got a lot of things to circle back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is our, like, Titus Andronicus Shakespeare. This is our everyone gets killed in this one, right? Except Bugs Moran. Capone is notified. Well, I have good news and I have bad news.
What's the good news here? We killed.
The good news is, all right, here's the good news.
Okay.
Good news is we just killed every hitman the Northside Mob has. Basically, right? Killed the Goosenbergs and James Clark, right? Not bad, you know, a bit much, right? Killed 4 other guys, too. That wasn't great. We did not get Bugs Moran. Bugs Moran does something interesting. He checks into a hospital, like in Evanston, just to stay low. Says,
for what?
Nothing. He's like, get me the fuck out of here. I need to, you know, go somewhere no one's going to find me, right? And isn't talking. All he says to a reporter is only Capone kills like that, which is quite a break of the underworld code of silence to even say that. Now, Capone, even with his alibi, has kind of a problem on his hands. 7 guys killed is a lot. It's not immediately laid at his doorstep, but there's going to be 3 different investigations going on. It's going to start pointing to him, and how that happens is interesting.
I would not be happy. No. And then when he asks, how did this happen? It's like, well, we didn't know what the guy looked like that you sent us to kill.
It's pretty embarrassing.
It is. It's not good.
Gus Winkler's wife talks about how the afternoon of it, they're hanging out in the house just like depressed. Like, man, like we really fucked up. Yeah. It's like, you know, so. This
is our moment to shine. You know,
this should have made us.
Yeah.
And instead, it's not looking good. Now, there are 3 investigations going on. The police, Chicago police, who are terrified the hitmen might actually be cops. They can't rule that out, right? They're using weapons that they know are issued to the police. The Cook County's attorney is looking into it. That's the equivalent of the DA. And the coroner is looking into it, which is going to actually be the most interesting of the 3. There are plenty of eyewitnesses who talk about the 2 cars made to look like police cars, which got away. Again, one driven by a cop missing a front tooth.
Oh, boy.
Fred Killer Burke, missing a front tooth. And when the detectives go to St. Louis to investigate that line of inquiry, are told, oh, by the way, Fred Burke dressed up as a cop a lot. Okay.
I mean, why was he smiling going down the fact that was picked up on?
I just killed 7 guys, you know? So another thing that happens, the police, after a week of nothing happening, issue an order, search every garage in Chicago for the getaway cars, which leads to panic. The gangsters start disassembling one of the cars with an acetylene torch to break it up into pieces, accidentally hit the gas line. The car blows up, singes little Louis Campagna's eyebrows. He runs out of this flaming garage. The police recover the first of the two cars.
This is really not good. I mean, they're fucking everything
It is
up.
so fun. It is amazing.
It's kind of funny.
It's falling apart. Police find the car. They find it was bought across the street from Al Capone's headquarters.
Oh, boy.
By Byron Bolton, the lookout. It's a Cadillac. They find a jacket left behind, which has the links it to the Circus Cafe, Claude Maddox's cafe that they use as the headquarters for the hit. Police raid it. They find ammo matching the ammo used. They find a practice target range.
Not good.
It's like
they find everything.
They find fucking everything. Now the American boys have fled to all corners. They've shipped the Tommy guns used in it using the mail. Georgette Winkler is ordered. Yes, you can do that.
I'm just gonna pop them in the mail.
They send it to Byron Bolton's mom's farm. Mom, do me a solid here, right? Georgette Winkler is made to deliver a package. She looks in it. A police uniform is in it. That's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while the American boys are hiding in various corners of the Midwest, right, Al Capone is summoned to Atlantic City. Now, why, you ask, right? Well, for viewers of Boardwalk Empire, HBO's hit series about this time, it's for the Atlantic City Conference. This is a conference of underworld leaders who, including Capone, but Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky, all these guys.
All the stars are there.
All the stars are here. And what's kind of interesting is you're starting to see the power shift where these guys say to Capone, you're fucking everything up for us, right? The rest of us. You need to go cool off a little bit. You're
now,
too
when
hot.
you say conference, you mean, top secret meeting of the mind. What do you mean by that?
Buffet, activities,
Got it.
No, I mean, they do meet at an Atlantic City hotel, stroll on the boardwalk, eat some taffy, and tell Al Capone, go to prison for a little while and relax.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting thing about the mob, but we talk about all the time, right? That they know when to take an L. Like we
retreat for a little bit.
Tactically retreat, right?
It's a good lesson to learn.
It's really interesting. And in this case, Al Capone promptly crosses over to Philadelphia with Frankie Rio, his loyal bodyguard, and gets arrested on a gun charge to serve. He figures 3 or 4 months in jail, let the St. Valentine's Day thing cool down a little bit. He's going to have his best buddy with him. He's going to be set up in a sweet cell that's very comfortable. The judge is not in on it, gives him the maximum sentence of a year, which he wasn't expecting.
Okay.
That actually is going to be kind of important later. Now, meanwhile, back in the Midwest, the American boys are continuing their crime spree.
Oh, okay. So they went into hiding for a bit and now they're like...
After a little while, the money starts to dry up. And they're like, I got to eat, So,
I got to get back out there.
It's like, the shark keeps swimming.
Yeah.
Okay. Or he dies. And so, Fred Burke, he's in Michigan, is drunk, hits a car. The other driver asks for $5 to cover the repairs.
Sorry.
And literally over $5, he runs. You could have given him $5 fucking dollars, and it wouldn't have been a big deal.
I'm not very impressed with the boys.
They are not as billed, you know. So Fred Burke flees to avoid paying $5. A cop stops him, jumps on the car. Fred Burke blows him away. Fred Burke goes off into hiding in Missouri, and this is where things really start to fall apart. Okay. The problem is Fred Burke hides in a town, gets married to a new gal, daughter of a farmer there, and bills himself as a prosperous oil man who has just happened to move to town.
Oh, okay.
The problem is there is one guy in the town who loves detective magazines and starts thinking, I think this fucking asshole's Fred Killer Burke. And correct,
Wow.
he convinces the cops, go arrest this guy. I think he's Fred Killer Burke.
I mean,
and there he is.
This is him in the middle, correct?
That is, of course, our boy Al Capone fishing in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Right? Here's Fred Killer Burke arrested. This is the beginning of the end, right? The American boys are going to get sliced and diced now because Fred Killer Burke goes to jail. He's extradited to Michigan, not to Chicago to be questioned in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. But here's the really amazing thing that happens. What is found after he kills that cop in the drunk driving accident? His home is raided. The 2 Tommy guns used in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre are recovered. And Dr. Calvin Goddard, the father of firearms forensics, matches them to not just the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, but the Frankie Yale hit as well.
Wow.
This boy is cooking, working for the coroner. So they have a slam dunk case on Fred Burke for the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which they do not pursue. I will come back to that in a little bit.
Wow. What?
Very interesting. Instead, he's shipped back to Michigan, tried for the cop killing, given life in prison, to which he says thank you, and is visited in prison by Phil DeAndrea, an Al Capone lieutenant. And I'll just do real quick, pretend you're Fred Killer Burke, and I'll be Phil DeAndrea visiting you in prison. Okay? Hey, how's it going, Fred? If you say anything, I'll kill you and your family.
Okay. Well, I'm in jail, but.
All right. Well, see you later, buddy.
Bye.
All right. Okay. See ya. And that was it. He never said a word about it. The other guys, on the other hand, over the next few years, every single one of them gets killed. Every single one of them. So, Fred Getz, a.k.a. Shotgun George Ziegler, shot in the head with a shotgun in Cicero outside a bar. Then, of course,
I'm assuming this is Al Capone.
Well, this is a good question. Bob Carey allegedly is a murder-suicide of his wife, possibly after doing the Lindbergh baby kidnapping.
It's kind of hard to tell with these guys because they were going to get killed either way because they have a death wish. You know what I mean?
Was it Bugs Moran? Was it the Carpus Barker gang, which pops up later to rob bank?
Could be a million people.
It could be a million people, right? The list of suspects is about 1,000. The only one I feel at all bad about a little bit is Gus Winkler, because I think Gus Winkler grew to think he was going to hell. He became somewhat religious, even though he became the North Side gang boss for Capone. But one day he pulls up to a brewery and a truck shotguns him to pieces walking in. So he is killed. His wife is going to write a memoir, which is one of the most important pieces of evidence in the whole deal on telling us what actually happened. That's her. She tries to gas herself, is saved by the wife of Fred Burke. So
there's a lot of drama.
So much. I mean, Real Housewives of Chicago, And best of all is 1933, Machine Gun Jack McGurn goes bowling, and 2 of his companions pull out guns and blow him away. And that's him dead on the floor of a bowling alley.
Over how much time does this happen?
This happens over, I'd say, 4 to 6 years.
Okay.
Right? What was it? Crane Neck Nugent just disappears in Florida, presumably fed to a crocodile or alligator, whatever they have down there. I'm not too clear. I will say, Machine Gun Jack McGurn, the bowling alley at which he's killed, a Valentine is left for him because he is killed on St. Valentine's Day, 1933.
Wow.
Which is of note,
So it's a notorious bloody day.
Yes. And I will read to you the Valentine. You've lost your job. You've lost your dough, your jewels and cars and handsome houses. But things could still be worse, At least you haven't lost your trousers. So, a little bit of sardonic wit from the hitmen who killed him. And all this is to say, with all these gangsters dead, even with the strong evidence of them being involved, there's no appetite to prosecute.
What about the guy that's in jail?
Fred Killer Burke, he's going to die in prison in 1940. There's no appetite to return him to Chicago.
Right, so they're like, he's already in prison for life. Who cares?
That's exactly what the coroner concludes, right? He says, there's no point. But the other thing is, there are other reasons they don't want to do this. The first is that Byron Bolton, the lookout, is arrested in 1935. He says he spills all on how it happened, including the planning session in Wisconsin, how the fuck up happened. But he goes a little further. He says 2 prominent Chicago politicians helped plan the St. Valentine's Day massacre.
Is that true?
Probably. They're still in office at the time that he's saying that, right? He says the chief of Chicago police detectives is being paid $5,000 a week.
I was going to say, like, there's some cops involved, and
right?
That's why.
That he gave the information on Moran, right, on his movements. And so the Chicago investigators say, okay, thank you. We don't want to hear anything else you have to say.
Cool.
J. Edgar Hoover, who is gearing up as the, federal BI, though it's not called that yet. He doesn't want to pursue this at all. He's in his public enemies phase. This shit with the mafia is very confusing and nasty.
Here's the thing. The 7 people that they killed, does anyone really care about them?
Who gives a shit? They're North Side mob gangsters. No one cares. That's the other thing. They're pieces of shit. They're not citizens. No one cares, right? And in fact, they are demolished by this. The ironic thing is the North Side mob basically is eviscerated because of this, you know?
So it did end up working.
Just at tremendous cost, right? If we don't investigate further, we don't have to talk about all the gun dealers who supplied these things legally, right? The Tommy guns were sold legally to racetracks, by these shady gun dealers. Like, we don't have to explore any of this muck, right? But it is the beginning of the end for Al Capone because now he is a national celebrity.
All eyes are on him.
You killed 7 people. People tend to notice that, right? And this to me is like, this has happened a lot throughout history where someone just in the course of doing what the system is supposed to be doing, it goes too far and there is a reaction. And this is what starts the reaction for him where now Capone is a celebrity flouting the law and the government over time is not going to be able to take it anymore, right? But I see a lot of similarities with other organized crime. I mentioned the Duisburg massacre in Germany. That put a spotlight on the 'Ndrangheta. In Sicily, the murder of 2 prosecutors by the mafia, the Cosa Nostra, hastened the end for them. Pablo Escobar bombing planes.
But even with Casino, which we discussed last week, I mean, this is the common theme of like they get a little bit too big, a little too hot.
Yes. And Capone's successors are going to be masters of never going too far, which is very interesting.
That's the lesson they learned.
Yes. And in fact, throughout this period, they're slowly amassing while Capone is in jail in Philly on that gun charge, his successors are starting to gain more control.
They're like, he's out. It's time for us.
Right. And what we're going to talk about next week is what Al Capone does with his remaining time, which is try to become as famous as possible. And as we're going to find out.
That did work.
For a little while.
Well, we're talking about him right now.
You know what? Maybe it did work in the end.
Yeah, if that's what he wanted.
We'll continue next week with Al Capone, Celebrity.